Welcome everyone to my Blender tutorial where I teach you how to do 3D modeling. So Blender is a free, basically open source software from the Blender Foundation, and it does just about everything you need to do for 3D modeling, and you get it to download it, and it's free, and so it's pretty awesome. A lot of people use it. They use it for animation and movies, and also for modeling for games. So I figured I'd done a lot of programming tutorials on how to create games, how to program them, and not very much on how to do the art. So this is going to be getting into a little bit more 3D. So first, we're going to delete this camera in the scene. We don't need that, and we don't need the light because we're just doing a model here. We're not actually doing something like, say, a scene where we have a camera and we render out images of it. So anyways, to get started, the basics are middle mouse button is going to allow you to rotate it around. If you zoom in and you want to move your camera up, you hit shift and then you scroll. That's up and down. Control is left and right. And to recenter, it's shift C. So I'm currently using this on Windows. It is Mac compatible though, and possibly some other operating systems like Linux. I'm not sure though. Haven't tried. So first thing we have here is a box. Now what we want to first do is select it. So you're going to left, or actually rather right click on that. And then what we want to do is actually go to edit mode. So now that we're in edit mode, we can kind of edit the shape of the box. So first thing you want to do is hit Z, and you can see that you see this wireframe part of it. Now if you look down here, you'll see some selections. Right now we have vertices selected. So that's like an individual vertex that everything kind of attaches to. This next thing selection is the lines. And you can kind of see that. Just grab a line, and this is faces, so like one side. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is kind of resize this. So we're actually hit A twice to deselect and then reselect, or hit S to scale, and you just drag out and you can get it larger. Now if you want to scale it, say along the x-axis, just hit the X, and then you just do like this, and it'll scale along the X. Hit the Y, it'll scale along the Y. The Z will scale along the Z, and so forth. And if you right click again, it'll reset it. Left clicking will set it to that position. So what we want to do first is let's actually hit A again to deselect. We can hit B, and then what we want to do is just drag over the area we want to select. So that allows us to select the top face pretty simply there. You can also use select an area where there isn't just one face. Also, if it's in form like this and you drag over an area, you won't select you only select visible things. So you want Z if you want to select stuff behind it, like here, which would normally be being hidden by this face out front. So we're going to grab that. What we can do here is move this up, and let's hit the S button to scale, and we'll move it into a point. So I'm not really decided what I'm making right now, but this is just the basics, so bear with me. And then we can also do R to rotate. We'll rotate that around. Of course, you don't want to rotate it like this, or else you have clipping errors that you can see along the edge there and whatnot. So we'll just right click in order to reset that, and you can also hit R to rotate, of course, and you can rotate along the X axis, you can rotate along the Y axis, you can rotate along the Z axis also. So we're going to rotate along the X axis, and let's rotate it sort of up like that. Now another cool tool we have here, instead of just moving it manually like this, we can also extrude. So we're going to do E. We hit E, and we can pull that out like this, which is kind of cool. Left click to reset. E, extrude. You can also do extrude along the X, extrude along the Z, extrude along the Y. But if you just want to extrude like out a 90-degree angle from the plane face of it, so it'd be out this direction, just hit E. Now extrude it straight out. Then what we can do with this is we can also cut. So for instance, if you want like this center area here to have another line, so it needs to be squeezed inwards, you can just Control R, and you can click here on this face or on any other face that you want to split it. Click there, it adds lines there wherever you click down here. You can also scroll with the wheel before, like for instance, if I do Control Z to get rid of that, and I can Control Alt, I can scroll with the wheel to get multiple cuts. So we'll just click like that, and then we'll right click to center it, and now they're all added in. And then what we can do here is actually grab a couple of them. So we'll use A to deselect, B to select, and we'll select, like, say, this area. Now we probably don't want this extra stuff down here, so we're going to go to face select, and then we're going to right click on that. Actually, sorry about that. Actually, we're going to I believe if you do C to circle select. Now circle select just selects everything that the circle touches. Basically, when it touches this little dot, selects it, and you use middle mouse button, you click down with the middle mouse button, and that'll deselect. That's an easy way of deselecting. So basically what we want is just a ring. So we're actually gonna enter, rotate, C, and what we can do is actually scale this up and down with the mouse wheel. You are going to need a mouse wheel, by the way, to use Blender for the most part. And we just click there. Then we hit enter, and we got a little area selected in the middle. And so let's go ahead and hit S, and we can scale this down. So and right click to reset if you don't like that. So you can scale it kind of how you want it. If you want it really far in, you can. You can scale it like this, but that causes errors, so you don't want to do that. As you can see, there's like a gray area that doesn't have lines attached to it. That causes errors. You can scale this up, click it like that, and then we can hit Z and see it in the solid form. And then if we were done with that object, just hit tab, and then I'll go back to object mode. As you can see, we got like this random little statue thing here. And so those are kind of like the basics, the core items. There's other things you can do also in edit mode. Hit Z again, and click K. Click K, and then we click along this line somewhere, and we click down here. It'll actually, and then we hit enter. It'll actually add another line through there, which is useful for some things. In the case that you don't want to use Control R to do that, maybe you only need one side done. So yeah, that's also useful. Some other things you can do, like for instance, you add an object here, like a UV sphere here. We can go over here, and you see in this section over here where it says add UV sphere, you can change the segments to, like, say 16 and or like 12 and like 8 or something, and it'll decrease the number of polys. So like in a game, sometimes it takes more processing power to render more polys. So polygon count is actually up here. You can see triangles is here, and then faces is here. So you want to watch those two numbers. And for some games, you can't render more than a certain number of them, depending on what platform they're on, or how much processing power your PC has, or whatever you're building it for has. Especially in mobile games, they have to go really low poly, so very few faces. So yeah, that's another thing to keep in consideration. And I think that basically encapsulates the basic tools of edit mode and modeling. In object mode, of course, you can still do things like scaling, and like scaling along the x-axis, scaling along the y-axis, but generally it's better to do that all in edit mode, because a lot of things require a 1 by 1 by 1 scaling ratio, so they don't preserve the natural scaling. So you kind of want to have everything done in edit mode, so that way, like for instance, if I go over here on the side, I can edit these things here and make it rotated in here in object, location, and scale, but that is applied after the vertices are assigned in their position. So it's kind of like a modifier, you might say, something that happens after the fact. So in some instances, you don't want to have that, because it'll screw up how it looks when you import it into, say, a game engine. So yeah, that encapsulates some really basic stuff for now. Next episode or next tutorial, I will probably make a box. I'll UV, do the UVs and make it textured, and probably turn it into a dice. So we'll have like a dice we can place inside a game, and I'll probably be using Unity for that, because that's another free tutorial, or well, a free tool, probably a better word. And this is also a free tool you can use, Blender, and I'll have links to those things, and also GIMP for the texturing, because that's also free. So there's a little bit of a theme going on there. But yeah, so next episode I will actually export these into Unity, and you'll be able to see, well, not these exactly, but I will export an object that will be textured, and you'll be able to see how that works.